Fighting games are one of the biggest genres ever in video games. Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, you know the titles. But one of the best fighters out there, in my mind, is Super Smash Bros. And there is no game better than Super Smash Bros. Melee. At least, I think so, because this game here is possibly one of my favorites. And I know a lot of you are thinking, well, Super Smash Bros. Is kind of unique. There aren't that many games out there that use the same kind of style as Super Smash Bros. Melee. And, you know, some other companies have tried to emulate it. But regardless, Super Smash Bros. Melee is one of those really cool games. In fact, the whole Smash Bros. Series is pretty neat. But did you know that Super Smash Bros. Didn't actually originate its style of fighting? No. The first company to actually do that was Namco, with a game called the Outfoxies, released in 1994 in arcades. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the game. The Outfoxies is a one-on-one arcade fighter that I consider to have been the direct inspiration for Super Smash Bros., having predated the game by several years. And the plot of the game? Well, it's this.
A mystery man named Mr. Acme contracted 7 killers to assassinate 7 world-famous art collectors. Oddly enough, each killer was also hired to eliminate the other 6 killers. What is Mr. Acme's motive? What's in store for the survivor? Is it a large reward or the reputation of being the #1 killer?
So, it's kinda dumb, but what fighting game of the early 90s had that much of a compelling story anyways? What's important here is the gameplay, and that's where this game gets tricky. While other fighters utilize combos or special movesets, Outfoxies really doesn't. Its focus is on the stages you play and on the items and weapons you pick up. Much like Super Smash Bros., there are a variety of weapons that you can use to subdue your foe. From pistols to grenades, rocket launchers, and machine guns, you'll be able to find a limited but decent range of firepower. And also, like Smash Bros., Outfoxies uses its level designs to its advantage. For instance, one stage called the Aquarium begins when you fight one of the characters named Betty Doe. At the start of the level, she lights a fuse that eventually will destroy the ceiling fastenings of a mounted whale, which will then fall through a couple of floors and get impaled on a trident. Pretty crazy, right? But due to the aftershocks of that event, water from an aquarium starts pouring into the stage, filling up the building you're in, and that water starts to get populated with very mean-looking sea life that will damage your ego. That's one of the coolest features of this game. The stages are awesome, each one offering a different layout that changes the gameplay. With no 2 levels being the same, it gives you a great sense of variety. And the final stage reveals who Mr. Acme, your employer, really is, and makes for an interesting switch up on the gameplay formula up until that point. The characters that you play as also have some minor differences. Most notably, Mr. Dweeb, a chimpanzee wearing a tuxedo and top hat who kills people for bananas. He's so short that unlike any other player, he doesn't have to crouch. In fact, he can't, and that makes it very difficult to hit him. But while the game has lots of cool features, there is a reason I believe that this title has sort of been forgotten over time. Sprite Scaling. Now for those of you who don't know, Sprite Scaling is when a game dynamically resizes and rotates pixels on a screen. If you've ever played Super Mario Kart, all the tracks were created in a graphics mode called Mode 7, which was, for the time, an advanced way of altering an image on the screen without having to manually redraw everything. For a game like Mario Kart, it works wonders, but for the Outfoxies, it's maddening. Every object, every character, in fact the whole stage dynamically zooms in and out. And with the game's original resolution being so low, you'll be in situations where you can barely see where your character is or what dangers are around them. When the level zooms out, there is a dramatic loss of detail. And due to the game's muted color scheme, your character doesn't stick out against the background. The sprite scaling technique creates a bunch of interesting visuals for the game, but it harms your ability to play it. When Smash Bros. Hit the scene years later, it was using a 3D engine better suited for zooming in and out, an option that Outfoxies simply didn't have back in 1994. The Outfoxies never saw release outside of the arcades, and I imagine this has to do with the complex nature of the sprite scaling. There was probably no way to replicate the gameplay smoothly on home consoles at the time. If not that, it could have been the inclusion of Danny and Demi, a single set of twin playable characters who are 11. And in a game like this, which isn't as graphically violent as Mortal Kombat, it does have a death animation for the two children that would have definitely caused some issues with certain North American politicians at the time. But really, these are only guesses. The game isn't perfect, and Namco simply might have felt that it would have been too much of a gamble to bring home. Whatever the reason is, the Outfoxies is a really cool arcade game to play. It invented a fighting game style that has since been made popular by a completely different franchise. And since the next installment of Super Smash Bros. Is being developed by Namco, maybe, just maybe, some of the ideas from the Outfoxies might come back again.